What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. We got a good one today. When I have an opportunity to talk to D. Orlando Ledbetter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, I take it every time, and you're going to see why. It's simply for the, hey, Tom! And then the intel as well, which you're going to enjoy. Also, we're going to have Robert Spillane, irrelevant questions. We get to the bottom of whether or not I'm allowed to call him Bobby. But first, let's look at this matchup a little bit. The Patriots, obviously, on a 5-game winning streak. They are at 6-2, home against the Falcons on Sunday. They have the trade deadline looming on Tuesday. And first on this game, I think you look at the Falcons and listening to Mike Vrabel talk about Atlanta, it was clear how much he is wary of the Falcons' defense.
It's a good tackling football team, so they don't really give up a lot of big plays because of missed tackles. And they're able to, turn those catches, have some space maybe in the middle of the field into a 15-yard gain as opposed to a 25 or 30-yard gain because of the way they tackle.
So we're going to go a little bit more in depth with D. Orlando Ledbetter on the Falcons' weapons. But if you look at their numbers, they are a team that does bring pressure. They have 16 sacks so far this year. They're also incredibly unpredictable. Last week, they got blasted by Miami, of all teams, 34-10. They lost 30-0 earlier this year to Carolina. Michael Penix was not in the game last week. He will most likely be in the game this week. He's dealing with a bone bruise, but the Patriots are going to have to prepare for both players. Here is Vrabel speaking about Penix, who's a left-hander, as you might remember.
There's more mobility and, which hand you're going to use to match. And, that was the thing I thought we did a nice job getting our hand on the football last week. We had 8 PBUs, and we got a couple at the line of scrimmage in the pass rush situation, and those usually end up getting intercepted. So we'll practice, both ways, and we'll have to make sure that one's a little bit more mobile than the other, and then be ready to go. I think the concepts are similar, but there'll be some different play styles that are different between, obviously, Michael and Kirk.
The Falcons going into this season were probably a team that would be ahead of the Patriots in most power rankings. The reason being the program was a little further along. It was a team that was hovering around 500 in 2024, and they come into this season with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson as their most prolific players. Bijan Robinson, of course, running back. He is leading the team right now with 549 yards, 5.2 yards per carry. Did not have a good game last week. Meanwhile, you got Pitts, who I loved coming out in the draft. He's had a productive year, but they still haven't really unlocked him. He's got 39 catches, 344. And London, who did not play last week, is one of the big physical freak problems that you have to deal with. He's got 38 catches for 469. Robinson also has 33 catches. But to me, this could be an interesting matchup for Christian Gonzalez, watching how the Patriots deploy against the Atlanta offense and whether or not Gonzalez trails Drake London if Drake London indeed is able to play. Defensively, on the back end, look out for the playmakers that Atlanta has. As Vrabel pointed out, A.J. Terrell is a terrific corner. Also up front, Daniel Onyemata is a player to look out for, and Zach Harrison at the linebacker spot. But what do the Patriots have at stake here? To me, you're looking at a team that's really having to avoid feeling too good about itself. And they've done a tremendous job so far maintaining a focus as the season goes along on the next opponent. Even when we've seen games, and there have been myriad games in which they've started a little bit slow defensively and allowed those game-opening touchdowns, boom, they reconfigure, they buffer. The next thing you know, they're good to go, and they're shutting teams down afterwards. But Mike Vrabel is cognizant of the fact that the idea of complacency has to be guarded against. So as this program continues to meteorically rise and individuals' performances continue to be eye-poppingly good, Drake Maye now up to second in most people's in most gambling outfits MVP race. Vrabel mentions, hey, the complacency, I'm thinking about it.
I think that's what we're always trying to do, is not allow these good times soften us up mentally and just let things slip that we didn't, things we weren't doing earlier in the season, or the way that we prepare, or the things that we want to believe in as a team. And so it's always a good reminder, especially in this league where anything can happen. Talk about having an identity, and the identity doesn't care where you play, it doesn't care what time it is, and it doesn't care what the score is. It just you either have it or you don't.
So the Patriots have an opportunity again this week to show that they're not a team that allows you to come right into their house, right into their living room, put your feet up on the coffee table, start eating all the chips, burping, tooting, and decide that you want the clicker. The first game of the season, they had the Raiders here. They lost. Second game, they had the Steelers. They lost. They got right against Carolina, and then they beat Cleveland. Okay, so this is a little bit of a cut above team, certainly a more talented team, but it's important for the Patriots to really make it uncomfortable for other teams coming in, which is, as we talked about earlier in the week, to me, a main reason that Mike Vrabel decided to go to individual player introductions, an opportunity for the players to come out individually and kind of build the fans to a crescendo instead of just having them get ready for the game and boom, anthem going. So that's an interesting strategy by Mike. We'll see how that works out. Also, trade deadline, that's coming up on Tuesday. We're going to have a special on Tuesday leading into that. So we will be doing a little bit of a live operation as the trade deadline nears. Kyle Duggar and Keon White moved out this week. Not a real surprise. I've been talking about Duggar as a trade candidate since the offseason, just because of the amount of money they were spending, $9 million in guaranteed salary. And it became even more glaring when it showed that he was falling down the depth chart. They'd want to try and move on from him. And as for Keon White, kind of surprised it never worked out. You just looked at a player and the physical skill set and what seemed to be a business-like approach, though a little bit curmudgeonly at times. And you figured, okay, well, the light's going to go on. And as time went on, it just seemed like he did not have a myriad of pass rush moves. It was basically Keon run into tackle, and don't make play. So Keon White on his way to the San Francisco 49ers. The question then is, and we're going to talk about this on Quick Slants tonight, Meg Ottolini in the house, is where do you most need help if you're the New England Patriots? I've continued to contend, and I actually asked D. Orlando Ledbetter, yep, I'm going to use the whole name on him, about the tight end position. He mentioned Kyle Pitts, who I adore, but I think tight end is a spot that needs some help. D will also mention the backup running back, Algiers, who is having a fairly successful season behind Bijan Robinson. I don't know if you want to move on or if Atlanta would want to move on from their lone backup, given that they do probably have still some playoff aspirations, but both of those guys have expiring contracts. And then there's contract strife. So I've talked about tight end. I've talked about running back. I would think a veteran wide receiver as a depth piece who you can plug and play would not be a horrible idea. Jacoby Myers wants to be dealt. Would that be a player that you want to marry up to and then see if you could extend him at the end of the year or give him a new deal? And then there's Trey Hendrickson, who has been in an impasse for a while now with the Cincinnati Bengals. Price on defensive ends went up this week with Aiden Hutchinson signing a deal with $140 million in guaranteed money, which is about $35 million a year guaranteed. So the Hutchinson deal would be sizable. But again, we talked about it all off season. Patriots have as much cap space as any team in the league, even with the newly redone contract for Marcus Jones this week, which will pay him $12 million a year. Trey Hendrickson to help the pass rush would be a home run. Can be a rental if you want it to be, or you can re-up with him at the end of the season, because Kayvon Chason and Harold Landry are about the only game in town right now in terms of generating pass rush. And the Patriots pass rush, good at the beginning of the year, has tapered off. And this will be a week in which Michael Penix, not a huge threat to run, but a fairly indecisive player. That's the kind of guy you want to get up on, speed him up. I said decisive. I should have said deliberate player. I think he's very slow to make his reads. And you'll hear D talk about the fact that he's extremely cautious, does not like to throw down the middle of the field, which has been a weak spot for the Patriots. So Gonzalez on Drake London, we'll see about that. No further ado, let's get you to D to give you a full game preview. All right, everybody. As I said, when the Patriots play the Falcons, I have D. Orlando Ledbetter lined up because I need to talk to him every time. How you doing, D?
Hey, I'm doing great, Tom. Thanks for having me on the show. Glad to be talking with you again about some Patriots and Falcons football.
What is going on with the Falcons? They lost 34-6 last week to a horrendous Miami team. They lost earlier in the season 30-0 to Carolina, but yet they've beaten the Bills and played tough with some other good teams. What's going on with that club?
Yeah, they're just all over the place. Open tough against Tampa, beat Minnesota on the road. Playoff team beat Washington, playoff team without the quarterback, and Buffalo. And then, played down to the level of the competition. They've been all over the place. They fired coaches, fired one of the top receivers. It's just been a tumultuous start to the 2025 season for the Atlanta Falcons.
How do they enter mood wise this game? Two losses they have in their back pocket: San Francisco and Miami back to back, now on the road after last week's debacle.
They're going to go back. Their backs are against the wall. Folks are coming at them for play calling, game management. The offensive line, which is supposed to be the strength of the team, hasn't been able to create any space for the weapons. So it'll be a pretty angry team coming to New England. To pay a physical battle. They know it's going to be a physical battle against the Patriots, and if they don't show up, they know they're going to get blown out again.
What's your best read so far, D, on Michael Penix? I watch him, and it seems like it takes him a second to make his reads and get rid of the ball. He's very deliberate back there, but he's also had some good moments too, where he looks every bit like a top 10 pick, which he was. What's your take on him so far in his development, and how's his health?
Yeah, overly cautious. Checks it down, which has been working for him because folks know he's got the big arm and he can get it down the field. And the check down is usually the Bijan Robinson to make some plays. We've seen him take simple swing passes, 50, and I think he had an 81-yarder there. So overly cautious, protector of the ball, won't throw it in the middle of the field. Can get a little wild at times with his accuracy. That happened in Carolina, was part of that loss. So that's where he's at, 9 games into his career in the NFL. Health-wise, they're saying a knee bruise kept him out last week, and he wasn't mobile enough to get out of harm's way, so they didn't play him. But you saw the play got hurt on, and looked like he got his ankle rolled up. So, but,
Okay.
They're saying knee, and I'm looking at the ankle. So,
but either way, he's not fully as spry as usual. I look at this team, and when Kyle Pitts got drafted, I said that guy, just watching his highlights in college, I said that's going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. If you had to put your money on somebody being a generational talent, they have him, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, just stacked with high-end, unique players. Should the Patriots be wary of these guys on Sunday, or do they not do a good enough job getting them the football to do the damage?
They haven't been consistent with it, Tom. And you got a first-time NFL coordinator in Zach Robinson, college quarterback. Has only called 24 games in the league. So he knows how he wants to move it around, but when folks start taking stuff away, we haven't seen the counter moves and the tendency breakers yet. So he says they're there, and we just haven't seen them. So they want to get Bijan the ball in the run game and the pass game, and then throw off of that. But teams have taken that away the last couple of weeks, and we haven't seen them do something else to counter that. So that's where they're at with deploying all those weapons. Kyle Pitts was drafted by Arthur Smith, and he knew how to use the tight end and got him up the field running receiver routes and so forth. The new regime has put him in the Rams offense, and the Rams tight end doesn't do those type of things that get down the field and want to run wide receiver routes. So it's been a tough sledding for Kyle Pitts since Arthur Smith left Atlanta.
Do you have any players on that team who would be likely trade candidates? I'm veering now. I wanted to ask about the defense, but I think about Kyle Pitts. I think about needs. I think about a guy who might be miscast. I know it's a team that has aspirations, so they probably wouldn't be sellers with a high-end player like Pitts. But as the Falcons approach the trade deadline, are there any players on that team that you look at and say they could be moving a guy like this?
Yeah, the contracts, guy or suggest, Kyle Pitts. You either they could have extended him by now. They haven't. They're not going to franchise him at 15.8 last year, so he's a trade deadline candidate just based on the contract. Running back Tyler Algier, his 4 years will be up. No extension for him. So Bijan's backup is a guy that somebody could look at as a quality running back to help them out. And then of course Kirk Cousins is sitting there with all the money and a no trade clause. But that's pretty probably not going to happen. But those are the three that kind of jump out at you as possible trade people. Then you can dig into the defense. Caden Ellis, his contract's coming up. David Oyamada, his contract's up. So those are the type of guys that you might could trade and get something back for.
Vrabel made specific mention on Wednesday of David Oyamada, and he was very leery, you could tell, of the defense and its playmaking ability. How will they look to neutralize a player like Drake Maye? You've seen a lot of quarterbacks, decent quarterbacks this season. What's the perception of Maye within the Falcons organization right now?
Oh, very high, very high. They were in that quarterback market too.
Yes.
Sitting at 8, so they had to scout him. They compared him to Josh Allen yesterday. That was a good comparison. We saw him a lot down here as he played in the ACC and against Georgia Tech every year. But it looks like he's putting everything together up there with the Patriots running and throwing. I looked at the tight end weapons he's got. Keyshawn Butte's doing his thing, and I saw the Buffalo game where Diggs just willed the whole offense to victory that day. So he's got weapons, and he's learning how to use them. So great deal of respect for Drake Maye in Atlanta and what he's doing up there with the New England Patriots. I mean, they compared him to Josh Allen. That's the league.
I mean, that's and that was, to me, coming into the league, that was kind of a high-end comp, if everything goes perfectly. And now you look at the MVP odds, and he's ahead of Josh Allen. I mean, if you look at the odds, it's really Mahomes, then Maye, and then Josh Allen and Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor. It's wild to see the development that this kid has experienced. Which portion of their defense would make life miserable for Drake Maye this week if you had to bet on one?
I'm the outside linebackers have been heavily invested in. Leonard Floyd's on the injury report this week, but they got 4 of them that could get after it. The 2 rookies, James Pierce and Jalen Walker. Jalen should be back this week. He's been out with a groin or a hamstring. I get that mixed up. And then Arnold Ebiketie, kid from Penn State, he's been able to get after it a little bit. Zach Harrison, he's out. He's leader in sacks, but he wasn't at practice yesterday with a knee, so they might be down some of their pressure players up front. But they were able to jump in J.J. McCarthy's grill and get after him, not allow him to run. And I would imagine they'll have the same type of game plan to get after Drake Maye before he gets loose on him.
Yeah, he's done damage, and he's especially done damage on 2nd and 3rd and long. Teams have a positive play on the first couple of downs, and the next thing you know, Maye is saving a drive with a scramble to extend. I want to ask you about the Falcons' decision 2 years ago when they had an opportunity and were kind of nearing the altar with Bill Belichick. What's your recollection of that period of time? How it fleshed out? Because it seemed like Arthur Blank was very much enamored with Bill.
Yes, he was. And we had a source reported that Bill Belichick was their target. But once they went into the process, they had 2 search firms, and Rich McKay explained this locally here just in the last week, that they had 8 people in the room, that Arthur Blanks listened to, 2 different firms, and some of his lieutenants. And they apparently talked him out of going after Belichick because it would have tore up the whole organization, have been a rebuild from top to the bottom. And they weren't willing to do that. So, that they went through the process. The owner wanted them, he wanted to be relevant. He had a good thing going. The team's falling off. Matt Ryan retired. They couldn't replace the quarterback. So, it made sense to bring in somebody with some championship armor to get your thing turned around. But at the end of the day, they felt it was better to move in another back to the Dan Quinn tree in another direction and bring back Raheem Morris as the head coach.
Have you heard anybody in the organization talk about, whoa, we kind of dodged a bullet, I think?
No, they want out of respect for Belichick, and him, and they haven't done that publicly. I guess one person used to attack the Falcons and Rich McKay, one of the Pro Football Talk people, and Lombardi, and they were like, "Oh, that's just he's just vouching for Belichick because they didn't get the job here, and they were gonna come here and redo the Patriots of the South, and that just didn't work out." That's the only kind of rumblings I heard about that. But it was targeted at Lombardi, not Belichick.
No, yeah. Well, anyway, we'll move on. Listen, you're going to be up here this weekend?
Yes. Do I need to pack my coat? What's the weather like?
It's a little brisk. Okay. We're having some mornings in the 30s right now. I think most of the rain is going to clear through, but I would suggest you do that. You bring a hat, your big coat, and you'll always have your bow tie on, I know.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. But, yeah, we got to get the coat. I have to go find that thing.
Yeah, bury that thing out, shake it out, or you'll be sneezing all over the place on the plane.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, D. Have a great trip up here, and thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you so much, Tom. Great. Right. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your D. Orlando Ledbetter, and you're up to date on the Patriots-Falcons matchup and Bobby Spillane. So happy I get to call him Bobby. And finally, just as a reminder, subscribe to the Patriots Talk YouTube channel, and you will be able to watch us on a YouTube Live for the trade deadline at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. 4 p.m. Tuesday, trade deadline live show. So we'll see you then. Enjoy the weekend. Take care. Oh, happy Halloween. Ladies and gentlemen, it is linebacker extraordinaire Robert Spillane. I've been calling him Bobby all year. I'm going to find out and establish for good whether or not I need to stop immediately or I can keep going. How are you, bud?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm tremendous. First question, I usually end with this, but I'm going to start with it. Hey, what's your number? You wear number 14. Why do you wear 14?
Yeah, I wear number 14. It's a chance for me to honor my grandfather who wore number 14 with Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And it's been an important number my whole life. And for me to wear it is really special.
We're going to go a little bit deeper on Johnny Latner right now because he was the 1953 Heisman Trophy winner at Notre Dame as a running back. Played one season with the Steelers, made it to a Pro Bowl, had 1,000 yards, all-purpose, made the Pro Bowl as a return man. Then he went into the Air Force and he suffered a knee injury and was never able to play again. Can you give me more perspective on his story and how he influenced you over the years?
To who you're referring to me is Papa John. And Papa John was my mom's dad. He grew up in Oak Park, Illinois, where I grew up. He raised 8 kids, was a phenomenal grandfather, and all he wanted to do was support his grandchildren late in his life. So I knew him as somebody who just loved being out, playing sports, being with his grandchildren.
All 25 of them, if I did my research correctly?
Exactly, yeah. So I come from a big family, and just to be able to wear his numbers, to be able to honor them, and all my cousins back home see it and love it, and just it brings joy to the whole family.
The guy seems like he's worthy of an entire book on his own, so we're not going to do the entire irrelevant questions on this. But if you want to, just Google Johnny Latner, because the guy was like a staple of
Chicago.
Chicago, steakhouses, the whole nine. Did you ever get up to any Halloween mischief?
I have, yeah. I enjoyed dressing up as a football player my whole life. I was never anything but a football player.
Every single year.
Every single year of my life. So I've never been anything else besides
You would have been an Urlacher age, right?
Urlacher, Briggs. You know, those were my guys growing up, being from Chicago, being a big fan of those two.
So were you either one of those guys when you went out for trick-or-treating?
Without a doubt. It was whatever jersey we had around that year. I switched it up on a yearly basis.
So no toilet paper in houses, no egg in houses, none of that stuff, soap in windows?
None of that. I did get jumped one time
Tell me more.
on Halloween, walking home late on Halloween, but that's for a different discussion.
All right, we'll put that in the book too. Okay, this is the important part of the program. Bobby Spillane just rolls off my tongue. I keep calling you Bobby Spillane, and I keep saying I don't know if he's not going to like that. So I have put it out there that I'm officially going to ask you whether or not I can call you that.
You can call me Bobby Spillane.
Yes.
That works.
All right. You know, you had options here. You could have gone
That
Rob.
works.
You could have gone.
I have lots of nicknames, and I let people call me what they want. I know Vrabel was like the first person to call me Bobby since my best friend back home, who is like the only person to ever call me Bob. So like, growing up, I was never a Bobby, but Vrabes has put it out there in the media a few times, and I've certainly got it more than usually.
I love Bobby Spillane.
Yeah,
I don't know
thank
if he got. See, I used to call.
It's a new one for me.
I used to call Robert Parrish Bob. He probably predates you. How do you like your steak? I know that Papa John had a steakhouse. How do you like your steak?
Medium rare with a little soy ginger glaze or sauce on top. Some butter with ginger, soy, and garlic.
You gonna do a ribeye?
Ribeye for sure. Nice deep sear on the outside, medium rare on the middle.
Where do you get your steaks up here? You still eating steaks? You can eat some nice red meat during the season.
During the season, I eat them from the facility, so they make so much food here for us that's what I tend to eat.
That's awesome. All right. When did you allow yourself to start thinking, maybe I can play in the NFL? When you were 9.
Yeah.
That's when I was realizing I wouldn't.
Yeah, from a young age, I always had the dream of playing professional sports, whether I played basketball, baseball, football. Loved sports growing up, knew that it was a passion for me and something that I really wanted to do in my life. So I dedicated myself in a way from a young age to playing sports and doing it at a high level, and I've just continued to enjoy myself throughout my career.
What position in baseball?
Pitcher.
Throw hard?
Yeah, a combination of speed and velocity and location and determination. I wish I could get back on the mound so bad.
Pitching's so great.
I haven't pitched since 8th grade, but it's something that really helped me in the development years of my playing sports and learning tempo and how to approach a game and how to take the ball in your hand and have control of timing and things of that nature.
That's cool. In basketball, were you a scorer, a distributor? I got you for a distributor. You could slash.
I love playing basketball. I love moving the ball around, slash, passing, rebounding, whatever it takes. Like basketball, another huge part of my development as an athlete.
You just play, huh?
As a kid, I lived on the trampoline, got home from school, lived on the trampoline, went to open ice skated all night long, played basketball in the backyard at the school, ran at the park all night long. So yeah, definitely play is how I was raised.
That's living. I mean, that's living. If you never stop playing, you never get old. How long was the NFL draft for you? Because you must have said, okay, I might go a little later on here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of my story, not being drafted, and I really try to lean into that and let that fester inside me. I'm 8 years in, and I'm still an undrafted player, and I take that very serious. It's a chip on my shoulder and something that I have to overcome every time I step on the field.
You're on pace for 142 tackles this year. Just pointing that out to you. That's good stuff for an undrafted player that nobody wanted. Got released by Mike Vrabel. You'll be turning 30 soon. You starting to get melancholy? You over the hill?
What is melancholy?
Melancholy is kind of like a sadness that makes you reflect.
Oh, absolutely. I thoroughly enjoy my days. I love being in this environment. You're surrounded by some of the best athletes in the world, guys who really dedicate themselves to their craft, who love their family. Being around the guys in this locker room truly brings me joy, and it's really a blessing, and I'm grateful to be here.
All right, well, welcome to New England.
Thank you.
It's been
I
a
appreciate
pleasure.
you.
It's been fun.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too, bud.